Good morning, everyone. It's the 22nd of March, 2024. And that out there is St Helena. We are prepared for departure. All we got to do is drop the mooring lines and we'll be off on what will be probably the single longest non-stop passage I have ever made. It's somewhere around 3,500 miles to Barbados. I decided not to make a stop at Ascension because they've gotten all ridiculous with requiring visas and all that other nonsense. And since there really isn't anything at Ascension, it's a open roadstead anchorage like this. The only thing we'll miss out on is the piranha that come and eat the stuff off the bottom of your boat. Unfortunately, we'll probably also miss seeing the pod of dolphins that hang around there. I did get a video of them on the last trip when I stopped there. And it's quite a large pod. They stayed with the boat for a long time. And even though they're wild dolphins, they still jump straight up out of the air and spin around. Spinning dolphins. So, unfortunately, I guess we'll miss out on that. Checking the weather, the doldrums don't quite go all the way to the Brazilian coast. So, rather than a course of 315, which is due northwest, the wind is due southeast, blowing 10 to 20 according to Windy. The cloud cover's burning off. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. We can go more west, which might make for a better trip instead of being dead downwind. Maybe I can get the wind around far enough on the port quarter to run the Genoa and a double reef main. Won't really know that for sure until we get outside. Right now, of course, we're in the lee of the island, and the lee extends pretty far out there. I mean, you can see the water is quite calm, but the wind is strong enough. I'm sure it's kicking up the normal 6 to 8 foot seas outside there. We'll find that out, of course, when we get out there further. So, for now, anyway, looks like a beautiful day. Good time to start. We're all ready to go. Got the tanks filled. Did a big grocery store run. Everything is pretty much ship-shape on the boat, no problems. Everything is functioning properly, and we can get out of here, heading to Barbados, the North Atlantic, and crossing the equator for my 10th time. And the first time I'll have been in the North Atlantic, and same thing, like 14 years when I went through the Panama Canal with Sunshine back in, what was that, 2010. Okay, take care, folks. Enjoy the spring. Obviously, this video is not going to be posted until perhaps we're in Barbados. Bye for now. Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. This is the 4th day of our passage out from St Helena to Barbados. This is kind of a view over our back patio, our aft patio. Conditions are pretty much just like this and have been for more than the last 2 days. When we left in the morning, it was pretty much as I thought it would be. Nice smooth water until we got out further to the northwest, and then we got into the big lumpy, bumpy, choppy, chunky seas that were coming from two directions as the seas wrapped around St Helena and met in the lee of the island. And I figured it would take us a while to, at least till sundown, to get out far enough away from the island to get away from the sloppy seas and to get out of the wind shadow. So at first it was rather light going and a lot of lumpy, bumpy, choppy, chunky seas. And I would say by midnight or so, things stabilized pretty well. The breeze was fairly light, southeast. And by the next morning, it had become more regular, around 12 or 15. So we were making pretty good time. I had the Genoa up, sheeted off the end of the boom, the Yankee up, held out with the spinnaker pole. As the day progressed and into the next day, and especially at night, this is fun stuff always happens at night, for some reason there seemed to be a large quantity of, I guess you'd call them line squirrels. Although the wind never got that bad and it rarely did more than a very light mist of rain, the wind would get up 25 plus knots, and with that much sail area up, it was just about overpowering the boat. So it continued to fumble along with that, often having to get up in the middle of the night to adjust the helm for these, every time a squall line would come through, to either push the boat too far to port or too far to starboard, and trying to keep everything balanced under those circumstances was a bit of a chore. So yesterday morning I said, to heck with that, don't want any more of these long nights with my sleep constantly being interrupted with the sea state. So we dropped the Genoa, dropped the Yankee, and hoisted the staysail on the head stay, sheeted off the end of the boom, and the trysail to balance it on the port side held out with the spinnaker pole. Well, it's when the conditions are light, it's a bit slower, but conditions are strong, the wind is strong, much more manageable combination and tends not to overpower the boat. So overall, much better combination. Unfortunately, we're still going along pretty near dead downwind. I mean, if I was going to Brazil, I could bring the boat, the wind over on the port quarter, but I don't want to go that far west yet. I don't want to get too close to that coastline if I don't have to. Until we get up past the bulge of Brazil. That's somewhat north of Natal, Brazil, which is a port on the river. That's the last place I stopped on my last trip on Phoenix. I stopped there in Natal and cleared out of the country, and got up around the bulge and started heading off to the to the northwest basically, but the wind was north-northeast by that time, up above the equator. So I'm going to hold a little bit more to the east, but not enough to go to Ascension, which is up to about the northeast from us right now, 2 or 3 days away, but a couple hundred miles west of that course line. So we're not even going to be getting close to that. What I find interesting is how big the seas have gotten. I mean, I'm getting 3.5 meter, 10, 12 foot waves, which can only be caused, of course, by the wind, but it just doesn't seem like the wind is blowing that strong. But right now there's still pretty much greenies on top of the waves, which to me means 25 knots. It just doesn't seem like the wind is blowing that strong. Maybe because we're going downwind and we're making 5 to 6 knots with the wind dead aft, almost dead aft. So subtract that and the boat speed from the wind speed, and it seems a lot less. I got the wind vane blade set to about 175 degrees apparent wind. So I'm favoring the course to port just a tiny amount rather than to starboard, because we need to get going towards the west. I'll show you later this thing that's you can see it in the video going across the cockpit behind the wheel is my latest iteration of a way to use the autopilot to steer the boat with the wheel. And when we were struggling with having the Genoa and the Yankee up and it was overpowering the boat from time to time, I came up with this and rigged it up and put it on there in order to have the autopilot help steer the boat when the conditions were getting really boisterous. And it does work, but it's just not worth the hassle of having the boat right on the edge of being out of control if it goes off course even a little bit, because the apparent wind, of course, then increases in strength and speed, starts pushing the stern of the boat around. Next thing you know, we've got one sail or both sails flogging and wind on the beam instead of back aft. So, might be something to consider. I'll do a video about it later for you people that have wheel steering but don't have a backup to normal autopilot, because those things cost thousands of dollars. You know, this simple little tiller pilot and a couple of bullet blocks, a couple of eye straps, and a chunk of wood. I still got the black wheel, plastic wheel on the steering wheel that came with the boat. It was for an autopilot, but the autopilot was long dead and it did not come with the boat. So I used before that piece of plywood with the autopilot mounted to the seat, which worked okay, but I have since filled that hole in the seat in, and I didn't want to drill another hole and remount that piece of plywood and go through that whole exercise. This little system I get set up here is all temporary. Use bungee cords down to the handrails to lock it in place. And it's easily adjustable, can be disengaged in 2 seconds basically by just disconnecting the control lines should the need arise. It does kind of get in the way in the cockpit a little, but since we left St Helena, it's often been cool even during the daytime. Right now it's quite pleasant. Sometimes you can feel the warmth in the breeze, but often it's chilly, especially at night, and especially when you get these little squall lines come blowing through with a light sprinkling of rain. So while we do spend some time sitting up in the cockpit, I think we'll probably spend a lot more time below. For now, we're north of 15 degrees south latitude, and we're inching up on 15 degrees west longitude. So probably tomorrow going to be time to set the clocks to GMT +1, because sunrise was not until almost 7 a.m. today. Usually it's about 6 a.m. Don't worry about that. Anyway, you can see this is, I got the camera mounted to the boat instead of being handheld. You get an idea of the motion, a little bit of rolling. I think you can see, even with the glare from the sun, see the sea state. Every once in a while, one of the big the bigger waves and the set come creeping up behind us. I've been having quite a few growlers, not real big ones, maybe 20 feet across the base. I've have had a couple of those come right up astern. The boat hasn't been pooped or anything like that. It just gives us a little extra whoosh, and the boat surfs down the face of the wave for maybe a boat length or two. That's a little exciting. Anyway, that's it for now. Let's see, we're 4 days out. We only got to do this about 8 more times, and we'll be there. Bye for now.